YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my Minnesota Vikings 2021 offseason rebuild, going through the offseason, adjusting the cap space, making some cuts, and then re-signing some players, then going into free agency in the NFL draft, take a look at top targets, some different scenarios. Doing this for every team, did it for a bunch of teams already, and it's all on the channel here with plenty of NFL offseason content. We'll have you covered with anything NFL related, trades, free agency signing grades, news, rumors, predictions, NFL draft coverage. We got you. Follow our Twitter for instant reactions, breaking news, always talking football on there. Please subscribe. Join us for all that content. Link in the description and comments for anything that you need, including that Twitter. See underneath me, walkthemock.com. Very cool draft simulator where you can create lobbies, join lobbies. It's almost like fantasy football where you can constantly join mock draft lobbies with other people playing GM for other teams. You can play GM for your team. It's very cool. One of a kind. Ends up being cheap if you use my code GOATHOUSE. Link pinned in the comments. Check it out. Here's our Twitter. Just constant talk here about everything. Breaking news, talking NFL draft, anything you can think of. Here's a little cheat sheet. I'll pin a link in the comments. This link right here is for restructures. Just live cap space projections, potential savings, potential cuts, some predictions, things like that. Pretty useful page right there. Check it out. The Vikings starting around negative $9 million. Not ideal, but they actually have ways to clear some easy money, I'd say. Riley Reif's a tough one because he actually played better than expected last year. They're probably going to approach him about some sort of pay cut or something. He took one to start last year. There was talks about him getting traded. I just don't think they stick with that 13.75. Well, this is me playing GM, and I would, with that being on the line to save, and either way, you're looking for the left tackle of the future, and if it's the left tackle for right now, that's even better. So I'd clear that $13.75 million. Maybe he takes a pay cut, though. Who knows? Kyle Rudolph would be tough. It would be tough to see him go. There was rumors about him potentially getting asked to take a pay cut, and he right away said he won't take one. So 5.1, that could help here. And they want to go more towards Irv Smith, which we saw late last year, and even Tyler Conklin was looking pretty damn good. So that could be the duo of the future, but gonna miss Rudy just because it's he's a Viking for life. It's just one of those guys, and he's so dominant in the red zone still. So that'll be tough. Shamar Stephen's been extremely disappointing. Not the same guy before they lost him in free agency a couple years ago. Need to upgrade that interior defensive line anyways. 3.75 clear in there. So we're on the right track up to 13.6, but we can easily clear some more here in terms of restructures. These aren't pay cuts. They're restructures, going to push this money back to future years. Kirk Cousins feels like his contract was made to be restructured. If they wanted to create void years or even extend him, they can clear up to around $19 million for him. Maybe that's a long shot, but it's possible. A simple restructure. I came out with $9.97 million in terms of a restructure. I feel like that's got to happen. I think it's going to happen there. Adam Thielen, you can clear 7.86. Daniel Hunter, around the same range. And Anthony Barr is not too far off as well. So they could do Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr is another interesting one. People are talking about, could they trade him? They could re-sign Eric Wilson. Some people think Anthony Barr could be cut. I don't see that. I think if he's healthy, he's still a really good linebacker. So I don't really see the cut part, but who knows? They do want to clear space, but there are some simple ways to clear space, as you can see. So then we're up to $39 million, which is pretty good there. And see these re-signings, these aren't going to cost much. Eric Wilson was pretty good for them, this past year. And when he had to fill in for Anthony Barr, but they could potentially use Kendricks, Barr, and Wilson, in the past when they had their great defenses. Most of the time, it was just Barr and Kendricks. They used two linebackers, but they could shift more towards the three, especially if they got three solid ones there. And their corners aren't as good as they used to be back then. So usually when there was two linebackers, there was more corners on the field, obviously. So I think they can use all three. It won't be overly expensive. Some sneaky team could come out and pay him a decent amount of money. We'll see. Mike Boone's been a solid backup option. Amir Abdullah's a free agent. He actually looked solid when given the chance last year. I just think there's, somebody's probably going to pay Abdullah to be their running back too. Nothing crazy money-wise. I think it's going to be cheaper to bring Mike Boone back. He has some upside still. And then Beebe was starting to pick it up at the end of last year. We know they like him. So they'll probably get him back cheap as well. These are pretty cheap. Odenigbo's a free agent. He was pretty underwhelming last year when that was his opportunity. Yeah, I was trying to tell fans The year before was kind of misleading because he would come in on obvious passing situations where the whole defensive front were pass rushers, including Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin. He was out there, and they really created for him. So it was pretty misleading there. But, I mean, he's solid backup if they want to bring him back. But they could just look to upgrade the edge rush position in general. The good thing about the Vikings is their defense kind of gets better by default, this year because Danielle Hunter's coming back. Michael Pierce is coming back, nose tackle. Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks missed a chunk, down the stretch season when the defense is really bad without him. Young corners getting better. So I think the defense will just get better by getting a lot of those studs back. So that's kind of a good thing as well. But still a lot of money after these cuts, restructures, and the resignings don't cost a lot. And we go to some options here. I think they'll like Poona Ford. Poona Ford's a pretty good fit. Seattle will try to get him back. He can move around a bit across the D-line. I think a good pairing with Michael Pierce in the interior. The interior was just a disaster last year, but that's because no Michael Pierce and, guys that should be backups were in there. So combine those two, Ford, Pierce, looking pretty good. If they do move on from Reef, Cam Robinson could be a pretty solid option because he could be a little cheaper than what Reef was, and he has way more upside, being in his mid-20s still. So they could look to add him and then try to, he could help them a lot right away, but then try to continue to grow with him there. And they could use an outside corner because I think they're going to roll with Jeff Gladney on the inside. That's kind of what I feel like they want to do. Cam Dancer on the outside. Mike Hughes, not a whole lot of trust there at Mike Hughes. I think they'll like Kello Witherspoon. Won't be overly expensive either. So, I think there's a pretty good fits and some targets here. Then we go to the draft. If they handle that tackle position, they could use a guard as well. Elijah Vera Tucker from USC could be an option, but I think they'll like these edge rushers towards the top. They're never in position to get these top-tier edge rush prospects. They're usually picking in the 20s, and that's where really the edge rushers fall off. Usually top 15 is where they're at. And they'll view guys like Kwity Paye and Gregory Rousseau as the better prospect versions of Danielle Hunter, these freakish dudes that got so much upside, but maybe actually a little more polished right away. So they'll fall in love with guys like this. Maybe offensive line's a little bigger of a need, and they very well can go that. That's why we have another option scenario coming up. But they will like Kwity Paye. Like I said, they'll like Gregory Rousseau. I think they'll like Paye for more of the instant impact. I do love me some Jalen Phillips. I just think these guys seem more as fits, and they'll view the Vikings themselves will view them as fits. Not having a round 2 pick hurts a little bit, especially because we don't have it because Ngakoue traded. That stings a little bit. But they still got 2 third-round picks here. Kendrick Green is a phenomenal fit for the Vikings outside zone scheme from Illinois. I'm confident he'll be a third-round pick. Could drop to the 4th. I just don't see it because he's such a phenomenal fit for these specific zone-type running schemes. So the Vikings will love him. He'll probably be a plug-and-play starter in this scenario. And then, I didn't re-sign Anthony Harris. Too expensive. They don't value it doesn't feel like they value that free safety position a whole bunch. In my opinion, it just doesn't. I don't get the feeling from them. They rather sign a cheap guy or draft a guy. Andre Sisco has to be. It's got to be one of the strangest prospects in the draft, actually. The Syracuse free safety who could replace Anthony Harris. I mean, there are moments as a playmaker where it's elite moments. The way he attacks the ball, his burst of the ball, the way he reads the quarterback, and the plays he makes stepping in front of the ball. I mean, he has flashes of elite free safety play, but there are some really bad moments as well. His angles are very poor, kind of gets out of position at times. He can tackle, but if he's in the right spot at the right time. So some teams might be a little scared to take him. I just think that, Zimmer would take a shot because of his playmaking ability back there. He's a tough one to figure out where he's going to go, Andre Sisco. He might have the biggest range in the entire draft, but I would like him as an Anthony Harris replacement. But if he ends up, one-on-one and a ball carrier is going down the field, that's where it's not going to be good. So that's the scary part there. But he'll be a playmaker back there in the back end there. Let me go on to a different scenario. I think they'll love Carl Lawson. They'll have to clear this money to be able to pay him. It's another kind of Danielle Hunter freaky dude. It still has a bunch of upside, but he has some experience under his belt as well. I think they'll really like him, but somebody could outbid. I'll predict that somebody probably outbids them for him, but I view this as a fit. It's a possibility if they clear the space. So that could be a big upgrade, so they don't have to spend a first-round pick on edge rush either because they do need one. They're getting Danielle Hunter back, but they had the worst pass rush in football last year. Danielle Hunter was out, but remember, he's just coming off that injury, so it's a little scary. I'm confident about him staying healthy, but if he goes down, they're back to having the very worst pass rusher football. 2 solid edge rushers could change your entire defense. It can make your defense elite, having an elite duo. Not saying that's the case here, but that's what they can go for. So that's why it's a big need, bigger than people are saying. Feliciano from the Bills, could be an upgrade there. In the guard position, can plug and play. Not going to be overly expensive. If they want to dive into free agency for the free safety, Malik Hooker, who has a ton of upside as a free safety, but he has injury concerns. Maybe not the best tackler either, so he won't be that expensive, but he's a good playmaker and could be a potential Anthony Harris replacement. Then you go on to the draft, and this is a huge, big-time fit for the Vikings and Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. This probably could be their number 1 option in terms of draft pick. He's got Vikings written all over him in terms of left tackle position. He is a dominant run blocker. In any type of blocking you ask him to do, he's going to be fine. He's going to fit their outside zone scheme. He's going to come in there and be a really good run blocking tackle instantly in a team like this. Instantly. Pass protection, that's kind of where the risk is, because it's a little bit of a question, because Virginia Tech, they ran the ball a lot. Everything was quick. He didn't have a lot of reps with, pass blocking for a long time, but you see the traits there, you see the power he has, the quick feet, you definitely feel confident about him, so I think they'll like him. And the potential 3 technique upgrade here to play next to Michael Pierce, and Jalen Twyman from Pittsburgh. Pretty good. That's what a 3 technique is. Pretty good interior pressure defensive tackle here. He was getting some first-round buzz a long time ago. I dropped a little bit probably because the opt-out could be a third-round pick. And then grabbing another outside corner here in round 3, Paulson Adebo. Another guy that was actually getting some first-round buzz a while ago, but then they opt-out. But, yeah, I think he fits kind of more zone coverage. They ran a little more zone last year. And he can play man too if you need him to, but I just think it's a good fit there from Stanford. Could be a good 3rd-round pick here. So, those are some Vikings options kind of going off fits. And, they very well might not have that much cap space because they may not do what I said they should do here, and then they won't be able to make some big moves like this. So it's going to be riding on, them making those big moves, restructures, cuts, which I think they can afford to do, because I think they can be right back there to a somewhat successful team there, because, again, they're going to get a lot of guys back on defense. The offense, last year, that was the best the offense has been in a long, long time. And, as a Vikings fan, any other Vikings fans out there probably know what I'm talking about when it's tough to trust them to be on the same page. Like, the offense and the defense, it never is, really. I can see the defense kind of going back to, not elite, but back to kind of normal because all those guys are coming back. And the offense, for some reason, just not what it was last year. I totally can see that. So it's kind of just Viking stuff. And that applies to a lot of fans, or a lot of teams as well. So we'll see what happens. Excited about this offseason. Again, doing this for every single team. We already did it for a whole bunch. Trying to finish these up. And then NFL offseason content, more of that to come. A lot going down in the NFL and a ton more to come there. So we'll have you covered even on our Twitter, instantly when that news happens there. So check it out, subscribe, smash the like button, turn notifications on. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.